What's up, heathens? I don't know. I didn't hear the intro music. Ben, are you there?
I can hear you. I didn't hear the intro music either. Or music.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? So we're here on Friday night, and we are taking your calls. We're wanting to talk about MAGA, and kind of originally what I thought about for this Cus I Wanna was I had the idea. And I talked to Ben about the idea right after the whole Tylenol thing got put out there. And so, that was big news then, which is still big news now. But like a whole bunch of other shit has also happened concerning MAGA as far as RFK Jr. and the Department of Health and Human Services go. And I thought Ben would be awesome to have on to kind of discuss that. So I don't know, to start off here and to try to get people to call in, which if you're in the crowd right now and you want to call in and challenge us about either MAGA or maybe you're MAGA and you want to call in and defend Trump against his fascism or because or defend his fascism, I don't know. But if you want to do that, the number is 720-619-2288, or there's a link in the description if you're outside of the US, but if you're in like North America and everything like that, do use the number. So Ben, what do you think about the whole MAGA thing? What do you think about RFK Jr.'s time as the health secretary so far? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's absolutely frustrating. I hate this timeline that we're living in. And this is a time, too, when audience members, if you have questions about how to tackle some of these arguments, like definitely give us a call and we can workshop some of those with you as well. There's so much Dunning-Kruger right now in the government at large, but especially within the whole like health and human services side of things, you put somebody in a position of supposed authority who has zero experience in medicine, zero credentials, and also notoriously has very conspiratorial ideas about medicine, and you put him at the helm of this whole system. It's number one, a huge slap in the face to anyone who has done their time in the field and earned that title of expert within that. But it's also incredibly dangerous for children, for older adults, especially those two populations. But people forget that this also extends out to everybody else. If there's one thing that ties people together, it is the fact that we're all humans and we have certain criteria that need to be met in order to stay alive. And unfortunately, the whole infrastructure for how we confront public health issues is just being torn down right in front of us. And we had struggles to begin with. If we look back to 2019, 2020, and that whole pandemic situation, that was already not great. And we still had Dr. Fauci kind of in the lead there. We actually had some experts doing a good job, like with kind of the system they had to work with. And we should have built up a better system since then. And now, if anything were to happen, like if some other pandemic were to come out, which you could make an argument that measles is getting that way, we don't have a way to combat that. And we're seeing measles rates rise very quickly in states that are eliminating their vaccine regulations. So this is very, very scary. And the fact that so much Dunning-Kruger is being allowed to run the health system is really, really dangerous.
No, yeah, I totally agree about that. And especially, I'm glad that you brought up the how dangerous RFK Jr. and all of his dumb fucking ideas are for kids, because just recently, they put out, I guess, the final report, the final version of the report, maybe, of the Make Our Children Healthy Again sort of thing. Anyways, it made some headlines previously, and then it's just sort of, I guess, maybe resurfaced again. And it looks like in September, but like apparently RFK Jr. is pushing a number of different conspiracy theories as far as what is dangerous for kids' health. And so, like, one of the number one things in it that is being pushed, or maybe one of the more dangerous things, is electromagnetic radiation. That would be the Wi-Fi, 5G, and other wireless technology. Apparently, RFK Jr. is pushing that whole conspiracy theory that, like, the 5G towers or cell phones are somehow negatively affecting your children in a significant way. But um, uh, experts obviously don't agree with that. The actual experts say that it's low. That the evidence of harm to children from electromagnetic radiation was low to inadequate, but it is still apparently a concern that is worth federal research money. So it's kind of weird how these conspiracies all of a sudden become fine when RFK Jr. is in the seat there, even though, like, all of the report that was generated does not actually cite any 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 studies past 2022 or something like that, and they were all kind of fringe studies as far as I know. And so it just seems like it, and I think that this is encapsulated in something that RFK Jr. said earlier this like in the past couple months, and that's that they're doing the work now to generate the data to support their claims, which is obviously circular reasoning there. But that's also not how science is done. You don't generate the information to support your preconceived conclusions. You do the work, get the data, and then come to a conclusion based on the data. And so, I don't know. What do you think about this report with all these conspiracy theories, worked into it?
Yeah, it's all just the same pseudoscientific garbage that I've been debunking for a long time now. And it's all recycled arguments. Like, this stuff has been kind of shuffled through the media. Even like my parents' generation had a whole bunch of that circling through. Like, the anti-vax myths have been going on for a long time, and so it definitely seems to be them grasping on to fears that people have related to the medical system. And, like, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of things to be hesitant about within the medical system. Like, it's not a perfect system. There's plenty of garbage, and I know that the history of medicine, especially in the United States, has been riddled with trauma, especially towards minority communities, particularly race-based issues. Talking about experimentation that was torturing people, and so there's plenty of reasons for people to be hesitant about the healthcare system and to mistrust the system. And as insurance kind of digs their fingers into it more, there's even more reason to distrust it, because, like, people are wondering, is there financial incentive? And so I understand the hesitation. However, it's very important to be skeptical and sift out what is actually a problem and what is fabricated as a problem in order to get you to believe a certain thing or not. And so a lot of the fear mongering related to big pharma is really not uh, is really not based in evidence as far as medicines being harmful. Granted, there are a lot of problems with the business practices of many pharmaceutical companies. So that's a case where you could say, yes, there is a reason to have some concern about how capitalism is influencing the healthcare system and how money is driving certain healthcare decisions from an administrative standpoint. However, that does not mean that vaccines cause autism. That does not mean that doctors are getting kickbacks on every vaccine they give children, and they're just trying to pump babies full of all these toxins. Like, we have to separate out what is true and what isn't. And I think something else that is part of this is the rise of the wellness industry and the rise of social media, and the fact that when you're on a platform like this, uh, expertise isn't really valued. It is who can get the most clicks on the video, that's whose message is going to get out. And people are more easily going to relate to somebody with a similar educational background to them, or a similar language pattern, similar ways of interacting. Like if you're a person watching a video and you see two videos, and one is in language that you understand from a person of a similar background, you might understand the content a bit better than if you're shown a video from some university hospital meant to be shown to doctors. There's definitely a difference in audience. And so the danger is when you get on to the media, you have people of differing levels of expertise given equal platforming. And so people think it's just a difference of opinion when there's so much more to that. And so anybody can platform themselves as an expert and get away with it. And this is something we especially see within chiropractic and naturopathy, homeopathy, all of that, because they have a lot of charisma. They have a platform that they can use, and they use words that sound smart to try to get people to agree with them. But none of that is rooted in science, and people don't necessarily have the tools to evaluate what is being said, and is the claim true or not? Can they back that up? So I think there's a lot of layers in just the way that public health is communicated to the masses. I think maybe this is something similar that overlaps within the rest of the political issues that we're having. Is there's a disconnect now with how we used to do things, how we used to conduct political discourse, and now with more people accessing the conversation, how do we need to shift the way we have dialogue in order to kind of get the right message out?
Yeah, I haven't had a lot of experience with anybody really spouting a whole lot of Maha stuff. It's mainly been MAGA, but it seems to follow along the same kind of lines of logic here. And like, I feel like RFK Jr. and him putting out all of these like fringe theories, like the Tylenol causing the autism, which apparently, my mom took Tylenol when she was pregnant with me. Obviously. And so it just seems like it provides a bit of cover for the I guess it covers for the real issues that are affecting like children as well as the greater population. Specifically on children, like the report that they put out totally ignores all of the main issues like that are causing child deaths in America, which I believe everybody can point out the one main cause, and that would be gun violence. For children in the age range of 1 to 17, that accounts for the gun violence accounts for about 18% of all deaths in that age group. But for 15 to 17-year-olds, that would be high school age, it jumps up to 30%. The fact that this isn't like included in that report, I feel like is a major fumble for any like government agency that's looking to inform the public about, what's going to most likely kill their children.
Oh yeah, all of this is clearly not based in evidence. They really are just trying to use the healthcare system as a propaganda machine, and you see this a lot. Like going back to that Tylenol issue, one particular field of medicine that people do not like to kind of get involved in is pregnancy management. It is so difficult to do that right. And the fact that OBGYNs can get sued like even 18 plus years after the childbirth, like if something went wrong during that pregnancy, they are on the hook for that. It's a case where you have people who are pregnant or even possibly might be pregnant showing up to the hospital, and internal medicine is scared to touch them. A lot of emergency is scared to touch them, like beyond a certain gestational age. Most specialties, like, they get very, very concerned when somebody is pregnant, because the medicine that you know how to practice kind of goes out the window, as you have to follow, very specific guidelines in order to not hurt both the fetus and the pregnant parent. So, and in like my time in family medicine, labor and delivery and pregnancy management was very, very high on the educational list. So I've spent a lot of time in labor and delivery, a lot of time doing antepartum and postpartum management, and it is very, very risky. And so when you have a multitude of physician specialties, so people who are actually experts in medicine that are worried to accept responsibility for pregnancy, yet you have RFK Jr., you have Donald Trump even making this claim that Tylenol should not be used in pregnancy because it causes autism. Like, you do not understand the magnitude of an issue that you're getting into, because pain control in pregnancy is very, very difficult to achieve. And Tylenol is one of the few medications that is safe to take in pregnancy. And in fact, if you have someone who is pregnant, especially later on in their pregnancy, and they have severe headache or recurring headache, it's a kind of an algorithm we go off of. Have you tried hydration? Have you tried resting? Have you tried Tylenol? If those things don't work, you need to come to the hospital because you might have preeclampsia, which is a potentially fatal condition. So having that Tylenol, additionally, can prevent need for opioid management and other types of pain management. But you can't use ibuprofen in pregnancy. You can't use most other meds that we would consider because of the harm to the fetus. And which is getting to an interesting point, because if you have this party who is supposedly pro-life and anti-abortion, wanting people to carry pregnancies to term, and theoretically would want those pregnancies to be uncomplicated pregnancies, why are you taking away something that could allow people to carry pregnancies to full term? Like, all of this just is ideologically contradicting. But pregnancy management, like, should not be something that people just make claims off the cuff about. And we're seeing ACOG, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, is already very, very good at communicating their guidelines with the public. And I encourage people, if you want to know more about their stance and kind of their way of approaching this discussion, they have a whole statement that they've published. And they're also really good if you have questions about abortion, if you have questions about like hormone therapies, questions about any of that stuff. They're really good for that. So, but it's just amazing when you have multiple expert bodies coming together and agreeing on something, which is rare. Like, there are lots of things that, like, I mean, especially different subspecialties love to argue with each other and love to be very petty and say, no, like, we're going to dig our heels in and not do what you want. When you have a bunch of these organizations coming together and uniting on these particular fronts, that is significant. So it's just people who should not be talking, continuing to talk, and causing further harm to people. Because that is, even if it seems simple, of, well, just don't take Tylenol then. That is not a simple situation. And like, I said this on TACIS yesterday, but like, it's just odd when everybody and their mom has to have an opinion about how medicine should be practiced. Yet those people, if I asked them a single question about pregnancy management, they would not be able to give me that answer. So If you were responsible for the situation, would you be able to take responsibility? And I think RFK Jr. and Donald Trump would not take that responsibility. So, and I see we have a caller.
Yeah, we do. But before we get to the caller, which I really want to get to him, but what I wanted to say is that everybody, if you would like to get a question in or something like that, definitely do the super chat. And you don't want to call, that is, do a super chat. We will be addressing the super chats. But I want to note a pretty fun thing. We're going to take a cue from TACIS, and we're going to do a debate at the end between, I guess, Ben and I. Whoever loses has to defend RFK Jr. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and what I was going to do, Ben, if you're okay with it, I was going to let you have the super chats that are already in the queue. I think there's 3, so you got 3 votes automatically because we didn't start off with that. So I'm already at a disadvantage. And so if you want Dr. Ben to actually defend RFK Jr., if you want to see that, then you need to get your super chats in, and otherwise I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be pretty fucking ridiculous with how I shit talk RFK Jr. While seeming to support him. Oh, well, yeah, thank you, honey. So in the super chat, very obviously you either put hashtag GE or hashtag Dr. Ben, and that's how you're going to vote in the super chat whenever you do the super chat. That's how it runs on TACIS, and definitely do that here in order to vote for either one of us. We'll tally them up at the very end of the show, and then whoever loses is going to have to defend RFK Jr. So that's what we're doing there. We do. Ben, are you ready to get to our first caller?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Just to remind everybody that's in the chat there, if you disagree with us about MAGA, or anything in the socio-political sphere, please just hit that number up, 720-619-2288, or there's a web link if you're outside of North America. So we're getting to Andrew from Nasty Jersey Buckets or something. What's up there, Andrew?
What's going on, John?
How you doing, bud?
Hello? I'm good. Yeah, I'm here to defend Maha. I do think the name in and of itself seems pretty legit, right? Make America healthy again. Yeah, I don't see anything that anybody would disagree with that, that statement right there.
Yeah, so Andrew, it's not about the title, though. The title was put on to make the rest of the ideas seem palatable. Do you agree with the specific ideas pushed forward in Maha?
Well, I don't know everything, but I do know, like you said with the whole, what did you say about the whole, the acetaminophen causing autism?
That
yeah,
was one.
it doesn't. Yeah, that's one of the things. Do you believe that Tylenol causes autism?
Well, I have a paper right here from Harvard that says that using acetaminophen during pregnancy may increase children's autism and ADHD risk.
Yeah,
like,
so that's not
Andrew.
Do you know what correlation versus causation means?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the medicine that's doing that. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so when a study is performed, it usually has a very narrow set of parameters that it's applying to. So it applies to a very specific intervention, a very specific population group, and whether or not you can expand beyond that particular population depends on the strength of your data and also your study design, and usually requires more studies down the road to see if you can apply that study more broadly. And the other thing too, right, is the whether or not the medicine causes the particular issue. And so when a study says may be associated with or may have a link to, that does not mean that they have proven a causal relationship. It means that they, just in their statistics, when they calculated those out, if you have a certain number of children who have autism and a certain number of them had exposure to Tylenol during pregnancy, then you could think that maybe that the Tylenol caused the autism. But how many variables are in this equation? How many other things could have led to autism? Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. But can't you say that with basically almost anything in the medical field? Like there's too many variables for like any kind of.
No, so Andrew, so here's what happens when you have an issue like that. When you conduct a study, you need to standardize those variables. So these variables are called confounding variables, and you go through your study design and you think, what other things could possibly lead to this thing? And that's what the study is meant to do. It's meant to standardize all of the other variables so that you can isolate these very particular things. And so, yes, that is how one way that we determine causality. And there are specific values that we get that tell us if that is significant, if we see a significant connection. Are you familiar with the concept of p-values and confidence intervals?
I don't know. I've heard about it, but I'm not too that educated
Right,
on it.
Andrew,
I heard of things like controls and all that stuff.
Yeah. So here's the issue that I'm getting at. So you have a particular opinion based on some things that you've heard and you've read, but there's a lot of the things that are pushed out to the media are very overly simplified, and so they're not addressing these particular things like confounding variables. They're not addressing how we determine these numbers are significant or not, and that's the stuff that science is doing behind the scenes. So if a study says that there's this significant link, I go through the study and I see, what are those numbers? Do these numbers line up? Does this actually prove what they say it does? And a lot of times, these studies don't actually say that, or they don't actually claim that there's a causal link. They say, hey, this is an interesting correlation. Maybe we should study this further. And so that's what happened with the Harvard study. That's what happens with a lot of these other studies. They see a possible correlation and they say, what if we do some more studies in the future to see if this is a something that is potentially contributing to this problem? And so we have to be careful when we're communicating the science that we're not communicating something different than what we're actually saying. But what the journalists will do, oftentimes journalists don't know the science and they want to get clicks on their article. So their headline will say, Tylenol causes autism, the study says so, when that's not actually what the study says. So you have to do a little bit of homework and yeah.
Well, let's dive into it. What is the name of the study? Like the actual, the where they do like the controls. Like what do you use to look for it? Like what doctors? Like what are the doctors who are conducting these studies?
Well,
like,
so there are different places where you can find. Yeah, there are different places where you can find studies. A lot of them are through different medical journals, but there's some great ways to access some of these through ACOG. Like I was talking about, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. They have a response about the whole Tylenol situation, and they actually discuss why, like, what the concerns are with the studies that were published. And they have links to these studies as well. So if you find an article online that's quoting a study, you should definitely go look at the actual study. Also, it's helpful to look at the studies that they've cited in that particular thing. Yeah. But Google Scholar is a great place. Medical journals are some great places. But even with that, without understanding how to properly read a study, it can be very easy to go to that study and think something different than what is actually being communicated. So that's why I would advocate more for looking at what ACOG has to say, looking at what specifically the American Academy of Pediatrics, not the American College of Pediatrics, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the similar organizations, because they specifically communicate these issues at a layperson level instead of using jargon that maybe is difficult to read.
So, like, if a pregnant woman takes Tylenol, and let's say that, you know, these researchers say, well, it's this acetaminophen and the Tylenol is contributing to autism. What exactly are these doctors examining to determine that, like, whether it does or it doesn't?
So this is right. So that's a big point of contention within the studies, because in a particular systematic review that went through a bunch of these papers that were trying to make this link, an issue was they used different criteria for diagnosis of autism. Some of them used a particular scoring system, which when a child goes to their pediatrician for like screening, they answer some questions about the child's behavior. They have certain symptoms that may be present within the visit itself.
Yeah.
So there's multiple different questionnaires, but if you have differences in the questionnaires, and especially if you're using questionnaires where people answer them, where the parents answer the questions, sometimes parents are going through a lot and don't have the best memory of things that are happening. Or if you have a household where everybody is autistic, but not everybody knows it, they might not pick up on certain things that other parents might. There's a lot of things that are subjective within a questionnaire that is problematic. So survey-based studies are not as reliable as more diagnostic criteria. However, you have to see, are they using the same diagnostic criteria? And with that, some things, let me put you on the spot a little bit, Andrew, because maybe we can think through this a bit together. Let's say we wanted to investigate whether or not Tylenol caused autism. If you were trying to study that, do you think that, what are some things that you might want to know? Like, what questions would you have if someone said, hey, I took Tylenol during my pregnancy and my child has autism?
Well, I want to know the actual, what I want to know is the actual physical effects on the brain that the acetaminophen is causing. That's what I want to know.
Okay, so that's too far down the trail. So one thing that is really important to know, Andrew, do you think that all doses of a substance are going to cause the same reaction? Or do you think that different doses might cause different effects?
I'm pretty sure different doses cause different effects. Like they say, even in the article, it talks about like low doses may be okay, but that's
So we would expect a dose. This is called a dose response interaction. So if you take a certain amount of medication, if you take a very small amount, probably won't do anything. If you take a higher amount, it might do something. And there are certain medications that do completely different things at different doses. For example, aspirin, if you give a low dose, is used to prevent against like heart attacks, and in high doses is used as an anti-inflammatory. So there's some very interesting physics and biochemistry involved in how we decide different dosages. But something that was problematic in a lot of the Tylenol studies was that they did not standardize the amount of Tylenol. They also didn't ask the amount of Tylenol that people were taking. People can misreport the amount of Tylenol they are taking. And there was not shown to be an increase based on increased likelihood of autism based on higher doses of Tylenol. So we don't see a dose-response relationship, which is what we would expect if we had, if Tylenol was even if it was a primary driver or even like a secondary, tertiary driver for autism to develop. So there are multiple red flags within these studies that say, hey, this seems to be a correlation, and we don't have enough evidence to say that that there's causation at this point.
Yeah, but what medical study that doesn't have that kind of issue? I mean, like, even when it comes to certain studies about,
A lot of them don't.
about like
A lot of them don't have that issue.
like
Andrew, any time
Like-
that we are studying medication, we are studying dosage. That's how pharmacology works. So if you're not reporting the dosage of the medication, that's kind of sketchy, and it's showing that this isn't as rigorous of a study as it needs to be.
but you said some people.
Andrew, hold on, Andrew. I need to ask you something. I know that you say that you have a study right in front of you that confirms what the brainworm guy is saying, right? But I feel like you're ignoring, or maybe you don't know, either one, about the study done, I believe it was in Sweden, where it actually had like a lot of different factors that helped solidify its conclusion, including sibling pairings, comparing the use of acetaminophen and not using acetaminophen in different siblings. And it did not come away with the same conclusion. It was actually, if I'm not mistaken, it was a bigger study that was run in Sweden, and it disconfirms what RFK Jr. is sort of stating. So why is it that the one study that you're, I don't know the name by heart. I don't know, Ben. I can find it real quick. I don't know if Ben knows.
Yeah, because I do want to read through all this, because a lot of these studies have the papers are ginormous, you know, and they like sometimes they give like a
Yeah, no, the papers are ginormous, and that's why it's easy to misinterpret them or misquote them, because most people don't read the full study, and especially most people don't read the statistics. Like, especially Andrew, if you don't know what a p-value is or what confidence intervals are, it's going to be very difficult for you to interpret the data that's being presented in the studies.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I guess I'll. If you can tell me what that Swedish study is, yeah, I'll take a look at that. I know. When it RFK, what he wanted to do also was people who were getting like food stamp programs and stuff. I remember he wanted to limit restrictions on what you can buy with it. Like, you can't buy sugar and soda and cakes and cookies, and it had to be like healthy foods or, you know, stuff like that. I think that's a good idea.
Andrew, do you think that poor people shouldn't be allowed to have birthday parties?
Yeah, birthday party is once a year. Yeah, sure. You can eat junk once a year.
Yeah, so if a family is poor, like, don't you think they might use those food stamps for their kid's birthday party or something?
Yeah, they can have a birthday party once a year. They shouldn't eat junk the rest of the year.
So you're allowed to eat food. You're allowed to eat sweets once a year if you're poor. That's your position?
Yeah, the poor community is overweight.
Andrew, can you explain so speaking of different variables that go into this, do you know what leads to obesity rates in lower income communities?
Yeah, sugar, carbohydrates, not exercising.
Okay, so there's a significant misunderstanding of social determinants of health. So do you know what a food desert is, Andrew?
No, what is that?
So there's a concept where like a lot of fast food places will pop up in lower income areas, and the healthier food is harder to get because it's more expensive, especially as those kind of wellness businesses start using buzzwords like organic, all that stuff. It raises the price. So you have healthier options that are out of reach for lower income communities. And so, number one, they oftentimes just can't afford them anyway. Number two, those businesses that are selling those foods aren't going to be as prevalent in those lower income areas because they know that the people living there are not going to buy their products. So like Whole Foods is less likely to be present in a lower income neighborhood. And you factor in the fact that if people can't afford to put gas in their car, if they can't afford even simple things to take them to a grocery store that has healthier options, there's a huge income barrier preventing people from that kind of access, and especially like access to healthcare, access to medications, access to public health information. A lot of those things are luxuries that these communities don't have. And so you have the fast food industry, food industry that is preying upon lower income communities. And so you have people that are just trying to survive. So this is a multifaceted equation. And Andrew, you are grossly oversimplifying this very, very big socioeconomic issue. Like all of this goes down to like, and a lot of it can even a lot of it even traces back to segregation. Like this is what a lot of this is rooted in, and it's a very difficult issue to address. So simply saying let's remove the ability to buy sugar on food stamps is essentially like it is not helpful. For one, it is just going to contribute to like more starvation in these communities that don't have access to a lot of the foods that maybe you would want them to have. So this is something that needs to be handled a lot better than just saying that getting rid of putting more limits on food stamps. Putting limits on food stamps is not going to solve the issues that we have with food deserts in this country.
No, I massively disagree with what you said. You said that fast food is
I'm sorry, Andrew. I'm laughing because you're sitting over there. I don't know what you do, but you're literally disagreeing with a medical doctor here, and you're just like, nope, I disagree. Dunning-Kruger's got me like a motherfucker.
No. Look. Fast food is way more expensive than healthy food. Have you not seen how much meals cost from McDonald's? They're like $15 each.
Andrew,
Andrew. Like Big Macs.
Andrew, you need to factor in the other issues, though, of you have people that have to work longer hours, that work in areas that aren't as close to those grocery stores. The ability to drive to those grocery stores. You have the ability to feed larger amounts of people for a smaller amount of money. And so what is someone going to pick up if they're working on a construction site all day? If they have 30 minutes or so to eat, where are they going to go? They're not going to go to Whole Foods to get it. They're probably going to go to the McDonald's nearby the work site.
No, you don't got to go to Whole Foods, but like where I live at, they have like supermarkets. Like avocados are real cheap. They're like $1.25.
Right. How many avocados does it take to feed a family of 5 on minimum wage?
Feed a family
with a single income,
it's even more if you buy
household with
if you buy
minimum
McDonald's
wage.
for a family of 5, that's
Andrew, when was the last time you ate an avocado sandwich, bro? Did you eat one today?
On toast yesterday.
Oh, okay. And you ate it. You ate it the day before that, and then would you feed your family of 5 on nothing but avocados?
No, like oatmeal. Oatmeal is cheap. People buy the sugar box oatmeal. That's more expensive. Okay. They want the oatmeal with the sugar in it.
Andrew, I feel like you don't know. Andrew, I feel like you don't know what a food desert is. Can you steel man what a food desert is after Ben kind of addressed that with you?
Yeah, he said a food desert is you will have to drive in order to there's basically it's just a whole bunch of like fast food things and not supermarkets.
Right.
And so they want to put supermarkets. But
it's the fact that the kind of food that you're talking about is just not readily available like 100% across the United States. So I mean, there's that problem, but I mean, also, should you really be dictating like what food somebody can have or should have? Like, I mean, I feel like that's a bit of an overreach, don't you?
No, I would say more like incentivizing, like diet and exercise. I think exercising should be a requirement, not like something that
it should be a requirement.
What if
Like
what if someone's disabled? What if someone's in a wheelchair? Do you think someone who's in a wheelchair shouldn't be allowed to have a cake because they're not exercising enough?
No, they can have a cake. They just can't eat cake and get fat.
They can't eat. What the fuck does that mean, Andrew? You can't eat cake and get fat?
No, I'm saying you can eat. You can have a piece of cake, but the overwhelming majority of your diet should be a healthy diet. Nobody's saying you can't eat
Andrew,
cake at all.
Why should you tell people what they are and are not allowed to eat, especially when you're not a medical professional? Like, what business is that? Like, and I mean, like, yeah, just and with that, thinking about like eating disorders and shit. Like, if you have somebody who already has a problematic relationship with food, I don't think it's not healthy, and actually could be more problematic to further limit their food options when their doctor is just trying to tell them, hey, you need to eat something today. Like, you need to like there's a lot more layers to this than you're giving it, Andrew. And that's the root of this issue right here. Like, I think your position needs some more nuance.
But if somebody's sitting on the couch that's 300 pounds and he goes, hey man, you're like, how come you're not, eating? Oh man, I can't eat healthy because all these food deserts, man. I gotta go to Checkers and McDonald's. Like, that's just an excuse. You could take the bus. You can go to the supermarket.
It is not an excuse, Andrew. It is not an excuse, Andrew.
Huh?
And in fact, something about this, like having some sweets or having some cheat foods, if you will, can help people lose a significant amount of weight, because if you can keep those cravings to a minimum, it can actually be helpful to have that variation in your diet. If you only eat broccoli and plain meat like all the time and oatmeal and shit, like, you can have more likelihood of binging and undoing some of your weight loss progress if that's what your goals are. But I also don't like the fact that you are just generalizing that people who are a certain weight are inherently unhealthy, or that people of a certain weight aren't putting in the work, or that they are lazy and sitting on the couch. That's incredibly judgmental of you and very insensitive to people who could be going through something that you have no idea about. And that issue is between them and their healthcare team. Like, I don't see what business you have making a medical decision for somebody else. And diet is a medical decision that somebody is making of their choice, and oftentimes in conjunction with their healthcare team. So instead of saying things that could cause more harm to people, maybe defer that to the medical community and let that be a decision between a person and their doctor.
So just as a good example, hold on, Andrew.
Tell you to lower your sugar.
Okay, yeah, okay, fine. Let's fucking go there, huh? So I eat a very low amount of sugar. Like, I have to, because my pancreas is broke. All right. It does not produce insulin. I've actually had like the hormone test to determine that my pancreas doesn't actually produce any insulin whatsoever. So I have to take insulin. On top of that, which I know this is kind of, was it PHI or whatever, but on top of that, I'm insulin resistant. Okay. Now that fucks me up in a few ways, because I have to take way more insulin in order to achieve the same effect that other people that aren't insulin resistant, in order to control my blood sugar. Now, my blood sugar goes up from just like stress. Like, if I get stressed out a little bit, my sugar goes up. I don't have sugar. I don't eat sugar. I don't sit around and eat sugar all day or whatever like that. I'm still 314 pounds. But I'm eating healthy. Tonight I had fucking, I mean, I already ate all of it, but I had roasted vegetables and shit, right? And like for breakfast, oh fuck, I can't remember what I had for breakfast. It was a healthy breakfast. I eat healthy all the fucking time, but I'm still 314 pounds. I
Do you go to the
walked
gym?
for nearly. I have a home gym. I've got fucking weights over there, and I also walk at least an hour. And I've got like a Fitbit where I actually monitor how much I walk, and getting high heart rate activity still barely budges at all. I actually had to have surgery in order for me to actually lose a substantial amount of weight. And even though I don't eat sugar like you're talking about, you're acting like the only reason why people gain weight is because of sugar. When I first got put on insulin, shut the fuck up while I'm talking. When I do drink, but not to the level that I get like, beer gut. Anyways, so when I was first put on insulin, right, and I didn't know that I was insulin resistant, I had to take way more insulin than necessary, and I ballooned up about 100 pounds. I went from like 225 to like 300 in like a month's time, right? Because the doctor didn't inform me of how that was going to affect me and everything like that. Sorry, I'm saying all of this to preface it with the fact, or to get to the point of, it's not just like sugar, how much sugar you consume. There's a lot of other factors, and you just distilling it down to maybe you should quit eating all them hamburgers is just really insensitive and dumb as fuck to say.
And very dangerous if the wrong person hears that.
I mean, okay, John, you said you drink, but it's rare. It's like not a lot. Like, how often do you drink?
I don't understand why that
Andrew,
even matters.
This is not relevant. And
because
Andrew, do you have any medical?
And
Andrew, do you have any medical credentials whatsoever? If so, tell me what they are and where you got them.
I don't have any medical credentials.
Then why the fuck are you interrogating somebody else about their health? Like, are you going to take responsibility for any of these things that you're saying right now? Like, would you, if anything happened, if John listened to... If John took any of this advice that, like you were saying here, and he got hurt from it, would you take responsibility for that? Would you go to court?
Of course I would.
And defend that?
Of course I would.
And you'd be okay. You'd be okay with someone suing you for a lot of money if you said the wrong thing and John got hurt from it.
Yeah, like if I told John to stop drinking and he got hurt from stopping drinking, then yeah, I'll go to court for that, I guess.
Yeah, and would you hold yourself? Would you be held to the same standard as if somebody said that you were like attempting to practice medicine without a license? Would you still defend your position if somebody got hurt from that, or would you think that you are not the right person to be telling somebody what they should or should not be doing with their body?
I mean, if I told somebody to stop drinking and they got hurt from, and they somehow died or whatever, then that would be
because that can actually happen.
Outlier.
Yeah, that can actually can actually happen. People die from alcohol withdrawal. So, like, you have a lack of knowledge that is really, really problematic. And this is where
you said
people get into a lot of shit, and people get hurt because people. This is the danger of using your intuition to make real life decisions, because you think that something is common sense, but common sense is really just your gut feeling telling you something. But if you don't have the fundamental knowledge or the experience to kind of teach you how to handle these types of questions, you could be doing more harm than you think. And so something like that, if you didn't know that somebody had an issue with alcohol use, and you told them to stop drinking, and they took your advice and they died from withdrawal, like, that would be a really, really shitty thing to do, and you would be responsible. So
yeah, but you
may think that certain things are benign. You may think that certain things that you're saying are benign, but if you don't know the context of who you're telling that to and what the results could be, that's really, really bad. Like, there's a reason why doctors won't usually won't be as vocal on the internet when someone has a medical question, because I don't know your situation and I don't want to tell you the wrong thing and have you get hurt. So it just amazes me that you feel so confident telling John what he can and can't do with his body when you don't have any credentialing that would tell you that you're safe to do that.
Can I ask you a question? If
Yeah.
you saw a relative, if you saw a relative shooting heroin, would you say, "Oh no, I'm not going to tell you to stop shooting heroin because I'm not a medical professional. You might die from withdrawals"?
How is
Andrew,
this a comparable
substance
thing?
use and substance use is a very complex issue and does require medical intervention. Like, there are subspecialists that do addiction medicine, and it is a very complex situation. And medical management of withdrawal is important. Suboxone clinics are very, very life saving. There's a reason why we have those. There's a reason why decriminalizing these substances is life saving and becoming more common. And so you can, again, this is again an issue where you think you know the right answer, but you probably don't. And so it's again a situation where if someone was using heroin, I need to know more of that situation. I need to know more about what's going on. And like, that person, yes, should get medical attention. But if I don't know enough, I'm not the right person to give them that medical advice. And I think you should take a step back and think a little bit and say, you know what, maybe I'm not the right person to be making this call for somebody else.
I mean, that's okay. I guess that's your answer. I mean, that's very bizarre
Well,
to
Andrew,
me, but yeah, all right.
Andrew, which one, as far as like my weight gain goes, which one do you think is more likely? Excess amounts of insulin that I have to take in order to control my blood sugar, or like maybe the 1 or 2 beers that I have a night?
Do you have a 1 or 2 beers a night? That's bad, man.
No, I
Every
just mean
night?
at night.
That's
No.
What? Yeah, Andrew, what guidelines are you going off of? Can you cite any
what, alcohol
guidelines?
consumption?
Yeah, can you cite any guidelines on any of this? Or are you just talking out your ass?
Well, no. I mean, I've read a bunch of studies that show that alcohol consumption is very, very bad.
Andrew, we've
Excess
already
alcohol
established that
consumption.
you don't know how to read a. We already established you don't know how to read a study, so I don't trust your interpretation of studies. But keep telling yourself
Okay,
that.
what does the study say about alcohol then? Does it say it's healthy for you?
You're just asking me what some random study says, Andrew. Again, I'm not
No,
gonna
I'm just asking
unless you
you.
can tell me, Andrew. If you can, okay, answer some questions for me. Okay, can you tell me what a p-value is? If you cannot tell me what a p-value is, I don't trust you at all about what you think any study says.
I don't know what a p-value is.
Okay, so that tells me pretty much everything I need to know, because anybody that has done research knows what a p-value is. Like, that is undergraduate level material right there. The p-value
Yeah,
is
but
a
do you
number
need
that
to
is
know what a
calculated
p-value
to tell
is to
you.
tell somebody to stop drinking?
No, the p-value is what tells you if study results are significant or not. It tells you what the likelihood is of the results of your study being coincidental or being up to chance. So if you have a p-value less than 0.05, or actually that number can change depending on how strong you want your evidence to be. And that's like a whole separate conversation of nuance of how you decide what is a significant p-value. But if you get a number less than 0.05, that usually means that this is very, very likely a real number. Like, it's likely not luck that you got this number. So we're playing a statistics game with a lot of this. And so, sure, a study can say a certain thing, but that's why we need multiple studies in multiple different study populations, different methods of doing these, so that we can kind of look through all of the data and say, is this actually significant? Because you can play those numbers games pretty easily. And that's another thing too that like wellness studies will do, is they will change their criteria for what they consider to be significant in order to say that their study, that their hypothesis is correct, and you reject the null, is what we say. So like if you decided that your p-value, like if you're looking for a p-value less than 2, any scientist would say that is ridiculous. Like, I don't trust a study if you're saying that is significant for a p-value less than 2. But studies will do that. And so you have to pay attention and understand what you're reading. And Andrew, based on your lack of awareness of that, I don't think you know how to interpret these studies. I don't think you know how to look through a study and say, is this a good study or not? Because you don't know the ABCs of what a study is.
You're right.
And that's kind of concerning.
You're right. I mean, I just read basically
Also,
the
Andrew,
summary. I don't. Yeah.
Andrew, I spent a number of years not drinking, and I still gained weight, especially when I was when I was first diagnosed diabetic and I was taking insulin. When I ballooned up, was not drinking.
Did you eat bread?
Oh, fucking Christ. Like, you're going to go to anything other than it's a complex situation that should be discussed between a person and their doctor. You're going to go with any other thing other than that. Do you eat bread? What's your gluten intake look like? How many peanuts do you consume on a daily basis? I mean, come on, Andrew. No, I'm a diabetic. I don't consume that much bread. Okay? Bread has a lot of carbs in it. I have to minimize how many carbs I eat on a daily basis.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. I got one last question before I go. Like, I live in the Black community. I live in the inner city, and it's a lot of obesity where I live at. And do you think like for women, it said something like the study? I don't know all the intricacies of the study, but I just read the overview, and it said something like 60-something% of Black women are overweight. Like, would they be less overweight if they spent less money on wigs and put that money towards healthy food and going to a gym?
What the fuck is this fascistic authoritarian bullshit? I'm sorry, you go ahead.
Andrew, this is again going back to the socioeconomics of food deserts, and just the divide, like the class divide in general, because like people of color are disproportionately affected by lack of access to the foods that you're telling people they should be eating, right? Like, there are healthcare disparities based on social class, based on income, based on race. All these factors work together. And so, yes, the Black community is disproportionately affected by this. And that is systemically designed that way. And yes, there can be some individual decisions that play a small part of this. But when you see, especially Andrew, when you're saying something on a population level, we are beyond individual decisions, right? Because that's something that an individual chooses to do or chooses not to do, or even individual factors like their own genetics, their own specific situation. When you're talking about a large population of people that is disproportionately affected by something, they're not all making the same decisions, right? You look at statistics like that and you think, what at the systemic level is going on here to where you have this happening in, like, where you have that inequity in all states, in all cities, in like multiple different cultural groups. This stuff happens because of the systemic issues. And so that is the biggest thing that we need to address. And that, I think, is the biggest downfall of MAGA, is because MAGA is taking taking an several issues that are systemically driven and making it an individual problem, saying that individuals need to fix themselves when the individuals can't fix themselves, when they're still forced to be part of this system that wants them to fail and that is set up for them to fail. That is the issue with MAGA.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate y'all taking my call. I mean, I mean, they can put like, you know, healthier stuff in the food deserts if they want, but I still think the overwhelming majority of people, even the ones that don't live in food deserts, they overlook the healthier foods for sugar. That's just what I see from personal experience. Everybody buys box cereals, sugary drinks,
not everybody,
sodas,
Jesus
candy.
Christ, Andrew, not everybody is fat because of sugar.
That's the number one reason why people are fat, right?
I like how you ended that with right.
You didn't listen to any of this conversation.
I heard.
Okay,
I appreciate you
Andrew,
taking my
we
call,
do.
John. Yep.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you calling up. Some homework to do. Look up what happens when you take too much insulin. Just research that and how that relates to fat, and also quit being misogynistic. That's what I would say.
Okay. All right, I'll do that.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. See you later.
There's a lot there.
I kind of like how at the end I'm like, quit being misogynistic. He's like, all right, okay. Like, he's like, yeah, I know. That's some fucking shit, but you know, what can you do? I guess maybe you could stop eating sugar.
Yeah, it's like, this is again, like the fact that people with zero knowledge are just going to reduce a very complex issue into like individuals just not doing what Andrew wants them to do. Like, just stop. Like, the world is more complicated than you think it is, and you, without any experience or knowledge in the subject matter, do not have the right answer. Like, you are not the chosen one to give this answer where the entire medical community couldn't do it. Like, you really think that people haven't thought through those questions already? You think that people haven't tried to just improve like nutrition education and see what that does? Newsflash, it really doesn't change the situation, because a lot of people, even if they have that information, it's like, okay, I know that broccoli is better for me than a cheeseburger, but I am full on a cheeseburger. I'm not full on one head of broccoli. Like, it's just so dishonest of a position.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just to let everybody know that right now Ben is up 10 and I have 1 vote. So I may be defending RFK Jr. later.
You should do it as
sucks for me.
You should do it as Bro Cephas.
As Bro Cephas? I'll have to
Cephas.
say,
yeah.
I'm not sure where my hat is, but I could try to find my hat definitely. To get Bro Cephas. I got the shirt, which isn't going to help with my conversation with Andrew about beer, but you know.
Yeah. I kind of want to go grab a beer now, just because.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure. There's somewhere around here. I could potentially do something. I could figure something out. But yeah, we'll get Bro Cephas on here to defend RFK Jr. All right. So we do have another caller, but if you are a MAGA or MAHA, if you know what MAHA is, or if you just want to defend the current administration on anything, please call in. The number is 720-619-2288. I'd really love to talk with you about that. And make sure when you do the super chat, to vote, you do hashtag Dr. Ben, hashtag GE, and we will be able to count things appropriately. Otherwise, if you don't do one, apparently it's just going to go to Ben, because I feel like waiting it there might be good. I don't want to have to force Dr.
more
Ben
generous than more generous than TACIS. On TACIS, if there's no hashtag, there's no vote. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're mean to each other though on TACIS. Which side comment about TACIS. So I saw some comments earlier on in the stream that they haven't seen me on a show in a while. Like, I've been on TACIS a lot this month. So if you haven't seen me around and want to see more, go watch the Transatlantic Call-In Show, because that's usually where I hang out. So if you aren't watching that, you're missing out. It's usually some great calls. Yesterday we had some interesting ones, but usually usually some good callers on that show.
Yeah, is Andrew still a regular caller over there, or does he like divvy up all of his time between all the shows?
It sounds like he kind of bounces between.
Yeah. But we do have Ash that's calling in to talk about some sex and gender stuff. Hey there, Ash. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty okay. Hi, audience. This is Ash. I am a proud Tylenol baby, your local Transifa recruiter, and smasher of eggs. I would have called yesterday, but I worked, and I didn't think it would be this easy to call and get on the show.
Gotcha. Well, go for it. I know you want to talk about the sex versus gender arguments. What's your specific perspective on this?
Yeah, I don't have it very succinctly, so it's one of those things where I don't think I can be very not sound long-winded about it. But the long story short is I really feel like the conversation that's been having about this has failed to address like the points that come from people who don't understand being transgender, and I feel like it's a failure in communicating the actual reasons behind identifying as the gender that you are, right? If I were to go into length, it's I look at it as a sort of like Hegelian dialectic. The original proposition is that you are the gender you are made. You should align to the gender you are made because it is made oftentimes in the image of God. You will be happier if you do so. And therefore enforcing gender rules is this sort of like positive bigotry of, like sexism is for your own good, right? The opposing side to that, the next step is to say that, gender is obviously a social construct. What's the difference between a kilt and a skirt? About 3 inches and a Scottish accent and how hairy your legs are, right? It's all cultural context. None of it really applies. Therefore, somebody can't identify as any gender you want. But the repose to that is, well, what is a woman? And the other one that I've actually heard a lot of other trans people talk about is, and a couple of detransitioners that I've seen propose this sort of concept that if your gender is simply a matter of self-identity, why do you need to transition, right? Why can't you just be a woman as you are right now without the need to transition? And I think that response is because of the failure of the argument to explain where gender identity comes from. And ultimately, it might be the fault of us not being able to explain it, because it's kind of hard, like the hard problem of consciousness still exists. But what I've seen happen, and, I watch the show, I'm a big fan of it. I don't know, like big fan, but a fairly heavy fan. And what always happens within that argument that I've seen is, rather than address the point, which is an argument about the philosophical definition of what it means to be, what it means to exist as yourself, right? What it means to have self-identity. There's always this shift to talking about statistics, to talking about, the health benefits of allowing people to transition, which is true. But essentially what you're asking people to do then is to engage in therapeutic lying. And there's people on the right that simply, the follow-up is that they just will not agree to lie to somebody for their own good, right?
Well,
and of
here's
course,
kind of a pushback with this.
Sure.
Kind of where we're getting with this is how do you propose we determine the cause of a person being trans, or the reason of a person being trans? Do you think that's necessary to have these conversations?
I mean, I think for the individual, yeah. The issue, the reason why we don't want to have these conversations is we don't want gatekeeping, understandably so, right? We don't want people to call somebody who is ND or doesn't transition
There's
not
also
trans.
right. That's one reason. There's also the issue of eugenics.
Yeah.
So like there's multiple issues for do you think that it's more worth it to have that reason? Like, do you think the benefits of having that discussion, having a reason for transness outweighs the problems of like giving an avenue for eugenics and gatekeeping? Do you think that that benefit outweighs the risk?
My knee-jerk response, I mean, I haven't considered that. My knee-jerk response without truly considering it is just to say that I feel like discovering truth is always a benefit. You know, like whether or not it's used by good guys or bad guys is the question.
Yeah, but do you think that it's more important to understand the underlying truth if there's minimal utility to it? Should we always pursue the end truth, even if it's really inconsequential or could cause harm?
I mean, like as a matter of pragmatism, you know, you should devote your time to what is most valuable first. But I don't think I would say like I don't think that it is like not valuable. Or like propose my own personal like story.
Is it more valuable? Is it more valuable to have that than to reduce risk of gatekeeping and reduce risk of eugenics?
I don't feel that those things are mutually exclusive, but I also haven't considered that. I'm, you know, responding purely emotionally, just, you know, with this new idea presented to me. Yeah. The only thing I can, you know, do is like come at this from my own personal story, which is say that, you know, like the canon event of a lot of trans people that came to it later in my life is I was heavily influenced by internalized transphobia, and these were the arguments that kept me from doing it. You know, like, why can't you just identify as a feminine guy? Why can't you just do that? Why can't you just be happy being male? And it's like, well, just because I'm not. So I think that there is a significant value for me personally in understanding this argument. I would say that I think that there are strains of that thought that has, you know, I've heard other trans people talk about those things that weigh on them, you know, those questions of, you know, from the questions of, am I really trans, to the question of, you know, is transitioning right for me, to the question of, you know, like, why can't I just be happy with my body? Is it worth the struggle? You know, there's all of these questions I think do have value for me and to the people I have spoken to. I haven't considered the idea of gatekeeping and eugenics, but my knee-jerk response is to always say that.
And the other, I mean, yeah, it's reasonable to have those thoughts of like, it would be nice to know. There's other cases where this applies as well within medicine.
Right.
But we don't need to know. Like, for example, if you have a common cold, there are multiple viruses that cause the common cold. And we don't test for them because the treatment's the same. We're not going to do anything differently, regardless of if your cold was from a rhinovirus or something else. The treatment's going to be the same. I'm not going to give you antibiotics. I'm going to like tell you to go take some like NyQuil or whatever and go rest a bit. Like that's the treatment's the same. That's the same thing with trans people, right? Like however they got there, however they got to finding out that they're trans, or however they got to being a trans person, whether it was genetic, whether it was environmental, whatever it was, the end result is still the same. That person is still probably going to transition. The protocol for transition is still the same as far as medical. Social transition, I mean, they can, whether they're trans or not, they can do whatever they want. Even if they're a cis person and they want to socially transition, like good for them. They can do whatever they want. Like, I don't see the utility in having that specific answer when, everything else is going to be the same. So number one, like what money are we going to put into learning what the cause of transness is at the expense of funding other things that we do need more answers to, and then adding that layer of gatekeeping and adding more reasons for people to say, like we're getting this with autism. Like, we're having people trying to find the answer for autism so that they can stop producing people with autism, and that is eugenics. Like, I think, in my opinion, these concerns outweigh whatever benefit we would gain from finding out what makes somebody trans.
I'm not going to say that that's not like a persuasive point. What I'm drawn to is like the argument in history over gay liberation. I don't know if it's like, in vogue anymore, because it's just not like a cultural concept. After gay marriage was legalized by the Supreme Court, it's just like, oh, suddenly it's not a big deal because you can't make a political point out of it. But, one of the things that, looking back at it, that I saw, that I feel it's true to say that an argument that was persuasive is to say, the born this way argument, that there is something inherent about me that drives me towards this sexuality, and that it's not a matter of like pure self-identification or pure choice.
And that's fine to say. I think that argument could be useful. I don't think we need to pursue any, like, the issue is, like, we're already in this sketchy place with people trying to point fingers at particular things that would make people trans. So it's like, I'm cool with that argument of that you're born this way. I think it's okay to communicate that. Just how far do we go into that is really, I think, where our point of contention is. And like, my perspective is to not go too far into the philosophical weeds of that, and go. I think people are less likely to follow in that sense. Like, you might have some fun philosophical arguments, like around the table or whatever, with people who are into that. But I don't think philosophy at that depth is as persuasive to the common public. I think humanizing trans people is going to be a better route, and kind of in doing that, using, like, because I agree, it's difficult to separate out for people gender identity, sex, all of that, gender expression. But I think if we turn the script on them, on the cis people a little bit, like, and we teach people, hey, you have these identities too. These identities are not unique to trans people. You have a gender identity. You have a gender expression. And I think allowing people to understand that this is a universal thing. And it's just, this is now just our language has adapted to communicating things that we hadn't previously communicated. And so I think that's just my personal approach. I'm not saying that you can't use like your specific approach. I just don't see the utility in it in the way that I argue this topic.
I can see what you're saying. Like, I mean, ultimately it's a better debate tactic to get somebody else to try to prove their point, and then you show how they're like demonstrably wrong, and then like the easy assumption to say, well, if they're wrong, then my proposition that a trans woman is a woman is correct, right? It's just as a matter of of scientific fact and of the diagnosis being accurate, therefore one must make this logical leap that the logic there does exist. But that's
not how most people think, though. Like, and I think there's a bit of an issue with thinking that people have syllogisms kind of going on in their heads. They don't. And in fact, most people do not care about logical consistency. Like, that's something that, especially we see within the gender critical movement, is an absolute lack of consistency in their arguments. And so I don't think they can follow a syllogism to that level, and I don't think it's going to be very effective
I mean,
use
if
it like
I
that.
were to say, say the proposition of what I think has been effective and is effective, and it's satire and visibility, like the Pride movement, just demonstrating that we do exist, we will exist, and that's what's most effective. But I don't know what percentage it is, and I know that ultimately people are emotional in their decision making, but there's a lot of people that do have these hard questions, and it is a very much a philosophical thing. And I feel as though maybe this is a personal thing. Maybe it's just because this was one of those aspects of internalized transphobia and, baggage that I had to work my way through. And it was a difficult thing for me. And I see that it is also a difficult thing for other people, because that specific logical leap of explaining, what is it that makes a trans woman a woman, other than the fact that this diagnosis is effective. Of course it's effective. Of course that leads to the understanding. But those other points, which are more ephemeral, more philosophical, less testable, are still there and still cause doubt and
Right. The definition issue, I think, is worth having the discussions about. And it sounds like you tend to favor more philosophical style arguments, more formal logic style
I'm better
arguments.
at it.
And that's fine. And that's fine. The one issue, though, that I have with when engaging with people who are of that mindset is the mindset that style of debate is inherently better than the other ones, and that's how everybody should argue. And I think it's fine to engage like that with people who are receptive. I personally, I do not like philosophical style debate like that. I come from healthcare. Like, I tend to communicate more in a public health type style. So it's not my style. It's not something that makes me interested in arguing. So I think, like, sure, you might be in a community that is, more receptive to that kind of discussion. It's not it's not authentic for me to argue like that. So and so I'm not going to adopt that style. But I do think we can have the discussions about definitions in slightly different ways. I think that the definition discussion is important, but I don't think I would take it in I wouldn't communicate in the same way that you would.
I understand that. I hope that I'm not coming across that I'm trying to ask you to argue to my specific points. It's just like, this is a conversation. This is annoyance I've had. I'd like to call the line. But I think for me, like, this might get kind of personal, but hey, I'm talking, so I guess I'll make it personal. Like, the issue I have is that a lot of the conversations about transitioning and about what it means to be a trans woman are written or described from a cishet perspective. And there's aspects of it that just are not expressed. Like, there was a sensation of, like for me, the way I've described it is, before I had estrogen, my brain was a diesel engine or a gas engine running on diesel, and it is an entirely different sensation. It is a different quality, a different mode of being that I can feel behind my own eyes. Whereas, like, a lot of the conversations about gender dysphoria is, oh, you just want to lose weight. That's just like anorexia. That's just like, hey, I'd like to go to the gym. Why can't you just do this? It's not this simple matter of identity. Like, oh, I can identify as a shovel, or I identify as a Republican, and then I became a Democrat. It's something that I'm driven towards in this innate way. And it's not a matter of like.
I've had plenty of those conversations with people in a similar way, like using similar analogies to describe, a testosterone versus estrogen driven system.
Right.
So I don't know what kind of circles you're in where you think that's a minority of how people are explaining things, because I hear that very, very consistently. So maybe that's just a difference in the people we talk to.
It could be. It could also be that, I didn't read into it before I decided to just do this for myself. But as far as it goes, like, I get where you're coming from. I can understand, like, as a matter of pragmatism, like, that the science and facts and studies-based argument can be more effective for people. and that could be a more effective thing. But there's still something about, I don't know, like maybe this is like one of those, I can understand where the ethical concerns come to in the realm of science about whether or not these kind of studies should be made. But I still feel as though the conversation when it comes to sex and gender being entirely separate is not accurate to the experience of trans people. And there is there is a real driven.
We're not saying that sex and gender are separate. Well, they're separate concepts. And I think they do need to be communicated as separate concepts. Because and that's just a function of language adapting to be descriptive of what we're talking about. But no, like you can say that sex and gender are often in alignment for most people. Like you can say that like they're often associated, but you still like I still think separating it out and just teaching people like these are words representing different qualities of people. So like sex describes more anatomical or physiological qualities of people. Gender and gender identity expresses a psychological quality within a person. So it's I don't think, at least I haven't made the claim that like they're not overlapping concepts, but the words are separate, and the words mean different things. Like the word sex and the word gender, I think we do need to delineate clearly, because if we muddy those lines too much, then it makes it more confusing for people. So I think we agree.
I was just going to jump in here real quick, just thinking through your argument there, Ash. I feel like your argument is kind of what underlies, Dawkins' rationality for like, posting on X or wherever that trans women are men. I feel like the way that you're talking about it would actually support that statement. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm not aware of that argument.
Well, no, it's just that Dawkins likes to shitpost, especially about the trans community. And he recently posted up that trans women are men. And I feel like the argument that you're making that sex and gender are not like as separate as people make it out to be, I feel like that is the underlying philosophical argument that Dawkins would use in order to justify his statement that trans women are men.
Right.
And
I feel like
if I'm wrong, I want to be told that. Right. No, I was just saying that if I'm wrong, I want to be told that I'm wrong,
Sure. There are three concepts that I think can coexist, right? The first one is trans women are male, mostly, unless somebody is born intersex, but trans women are women, right? I think the idea that sex and gender are not definitionally the same can coexist. And I also think that gender is, I don't know the correct technical term for it, but there is I don't want to say inherent, but because it is not biologically determined, it is not a determined thing, but it is inspired by or influenced by these factors that are innate inside of people, right? People who are male tend to behave in certain ways. People who are female tend to behave in certain ways. And it is not to say that those roles should be enforced or should be in any way expected, right? That's kind of where they come from. So when somebody who is born male feels this significant drive towards feminine behavior, that is where we get the idea of somebody being transgender. Or when somebody doesn't identify with either, that is where we get the idea of non-binary. It is this aversion towards these behaviors that tend to be male and are driven by something innate about, I don't know, like hormone balances, wherever that works. And I'm a lay person. I don't really know how it works, right? But there is something of a drivenness, a proclivity towards certain behaviors that are more linked to sex. And that's ultimately, I think those three things can coincide. And you can also say it the same thing, the fourth thing that I sort of like touched on, which is that in no way does that mean that you are less of a male or less of a man if you don't behave in those stereotypical ways, because there are differences. I feel like those
Yeah,
things
Ash,
can coexist. I don't feel like any of those are mutually exclusive.
Well, you're just describing the overlap between like a biopsychosocial model of a human. Like, yes, there is going to be overlap between like how your biology influences your identity and your sense of self, and that influences how you interact with the world around you. And that's how I kind of delineate these terms that we use, like gender kind of being this more performative thing that you do, like
right.
the way a lot of sociologists describe it, you don't have a gender, you do a gender. That's gender is how you interact with the society based on these categories that society has constructed. And your gender identity being your psychological component of your internal sense of self, and then sex being the biological component. So yes, I think that there is overlap, like with how these relate to each other. However, that is like those components all kind of go together to form like you as a person. However, that does not mean that these terms are therefore like more related. Like they're still separate terms, and we still need to delineate that the gender that you do in society is separate from your biological sex, right? And so I think that that delineation is still very important. Yes, there is overlap. That's a level of nuance that people aren't really ready for in a lot of conversation.
I want to sort of like try to steelman the opposing argument and like see your reaction to it. If that's okay, I'll try to articulate it well. The opposing argument is to say that if gender is simply a performance, then that means that being a man or being a woman is not a real thing. So you are essentially destroying the definition of the word woman or the definition of the word man. Again, I'm trying to steelman it. I'm not saying that those are my arguments, but it's like that's sort of what I'm
because
trying
again,
to
that's conflating gender and gender identity, right? Because these are still separate terms. So the being a man or being a woman is your gender identity, which is your psychology, and independent of sociology, which is the performance of gender. So because your performance of gender could be completely contrary to your gender identity. Like, and in fact, people that are in the closet are they're doing gender opposite to their gender identity a lot of the times. So these are still separate. I think it's a case where maybe we need better terminology that's less ambiguous. But that's kind of what we have now. So that would be my counter, would be that that is kind of interchanging two different terms.
I want to try to say it and like that steelman or that argument that I tried to propose. Maybe I said male or female rather than man and woman, but you know, if I apply that argument to just the gender itself, and I'm not talking about sex, right? If you believe that gender is performative, then you are saying that gender can be anything, and if something can be anything, then therefore it can't. It is nothing, right? It essentially defines it out of any meaning.
And again, you like you're still ignoring the distinction between gender and gender identity.
Okay.
And that is probably the more important distinction, because we're talking about gender identity.
Okay. Can you explain? I don't think I don't understand.
Right. So your performance of gender in society is not necessarily going to align with your gender identity. So so whatever society defines like gender as, like however society wants you to perform gender, does not impact your gender identity. Like your gender identity is something that is like, it is internal to you, like it is specific to you. And so even if you have like children who aren't exposed to like that particular like performance of gender, they would still develop a gender identity. Whether or not they would have the specific words to describe that, they would still have that experience of who they are. Like even if you grew up, like if you were isolated on an island, you would still find a sense of self, whatever that is.
Okay. I see
And
what you're saying.
yeah. So I
Then
think that gender identity is separate from the performance of gender.
I get what you're saying. I didn't recognize that difference. Do you have an answer if I were to, again, trying to be, and again, this is like my understanding of the thing that I labored with, and the philosophical issue that like bothered me. And I think I have my own attempt at a resolution, but if I were to try to be more precise in my language and then say only gender identity, if gender identity can be anything, then it can be nothing. It sort of destroys the idea of being a woman as a gender identity and being a man as a gender identity. For me, the answer to that is to say, well, no, this is not simply a created thing. It's not simply cut from a whole cloth. It is something of some internal drive, right? That is linked to, but not necessarily of, sex, if that makes sense. But I want to say, do you have like a response to that? I don't know. If I'm asking you a philosophical question, you'd rather talk about science, I get you.
Yeah. If your question is, do I think that gender identity is innate? Yes. I do think that we have. I don't think we don't know where that comes from necessarily. There are a lot of hypotheses out there in the psychological sphere of study, which I'm not a psychologist. Like there are multiple like hypotheses out there of how gender identity becomes a thing. There are people that think that it's biological. There are people that think that it's purely like based on how you're raised and environmental. There's people who have overlap. I don't think we're ever going to have a solid answer on specifically what that is. And I think that was our contention at the beginning of the call, was that I don't think we need to take that step to know. And you were saying that we do. But I'm comfortable just saying that gender identity is something that is innate, and we don't know exactly why we have gender identity or what causes gender identity.
I think I understand. I think I'm gonna have to chew on it for a little bit. Like ultimately, I think the issue is that, it's imprecise language, like people not understanding the difference between gender identity and gender, which I don't know. I kind of just demonstrated in this conversation. But it's like, if you think about it like that, then yeah, it does make more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a nebulous conversation to have. And I know you said that you worked yesterday during TACIS, but Josie has some really good analogies for this conversation. If you ever, like, even if you watch back from yesterday, Josie had some good points on this particular topic. So definitely worth a watch.
The line has been really good. I really appreciate the work you guys do in furthering this conversation. And I know that you mainly try to do atheism stuff, and this conversation just keeps coming up. But whenever it does, you really knock it out of the park. And thank you for all the work you guys do.
Yeah, thank you for the call.
Yeah. Thanks, Ash.
I've done a lot of talking today.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of figured with you being a doctor and all, you would have far more input than I would have. So I'm sorry that I, pretty much I had a show where it's pretty much all you. But we still have some time.
Next call though might be, yeah.
Yeah. But if anybody wants to defend MAGA or MAHA or anything like that, please call in. We do have some time left tonight if somebody wants to call up. The number is 720-619-2288, or there's a web link in the description. If you're outside of North America, we'd love to hear from you. Also, I've not seen too many super chats coming through. So it looks like I am going to be definitely defending RFK Jr. as Bro Cephas. So Maybe that's the point. Like it was just too sweet of a thing to pass up. Like I'm already in the lead for having to do it. So I think that people just want to see Bro Cephas come on and defend the
they
brain
wanna see
worn
Bruce
guy.
Cephas.
Yeah.
Which so other thing to shill though, since we're allowed to shill our own stuff on this channel, but GE has done some lovely drunk stories on Holy Spirits, and should definitely go watch those.
It's
I released one of your Halloween ones.
If I've learned anything, that's the reason why I'm fat. So, it's doing those shows. So that's the reason. All right. So we do have Jay calling in from Naughty Younglings. I think that would actually, that would work. Naughty Younglings.
No.
What's up there, Jay from Naughty Younglings? How you doing?
I'm doing just fine tonight. How are you two?
Doing
Doing okay. So what you want to talk about?
I want to talk about MAGA's implicit, explicit belief in eugenics, and how if either of you had some counters to it, since we are in this timeline for the next 4 years, I guess. Because, I don't know, just the fact that RFK is trying to put a list together of, people with autism doesn't seem to bode well. But, yeah, I mean, Trump has been pretty explicit about it, kind of. He's like...
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was going to ask, like, what do you mean by their eugenics, like, argument specifically?
It's not even so much an argument as much as it is ignorance, and I think I don't want to cast aspersions on people, but even Andrew today was a little on that topic. It's the lack of knowledge that they don't even know how a T-square works, that it could be anybody, could be them, could be their next of kin. To have some sort of issue that needs more help than a family or a charity is able to provide. And
so
they want to take all of that help away.
Right. So by eugenics, do you mean that they want to create a system where those people that can't necessarily afford either good food or good health care, they end up dying, and only those that are in the elite that can afford those things will survive? Is that what you mean?
Something like that, because it goes hand in hand with the ultra capitalism that we're seeing emerge even more, I guess, just where it's if you are not a exponential growth economic unit, they don't want to help you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the current administration and all of its cabinet members, I do feel like there's a bit of a concerted effort to make life harder for, the low and middle class to survive. They've done a number of things that are going to do that. Of course, the Republican Party has consistently done this all throughout the past 10, 20 years. I remember pre-COVID Republicans cut free school lunches, and they continuously do these things that seems to punish poor families, or even working poor families. So it definitely seems like they have it out for that group of people, because unless they can take all the money that they can from you, then it's like they don't care and you deserve to die. So, I mean, I definitely see a lot of concerted effort in that direction, like in passing policies, and how they just don't seem to care about whether or not children eat. I know when my wife actually discovered that, food or lunch debt existed. School lunch debt existed. She repeated multiple times, like, just feed the fucking kids. Like, that shouldn't be a controversial thing about, getting kids food, but it seems like there's a concerted effort to use that in order to punish parents that can't necessarily feed their kids, I guess better off families can, because that's what we see from the Republican Party, is that they constantly want to use that as a way to shift blame onto people. But I think that it kind of works against them, though, because Republicans, like the lower and middle class Republicans, they're the ones that benefit the most from social safety nets in like every state. So like in the states that are primarily red, they are the ones that receive most of the social safety net assistance. And so it doesn't make a lot of sense to me why the Republicans seem to be punishing their own base, but it seems to be the route that they want to go. Of course, they utilize that in order to blame the Democrats for it, right? They misrepresent actions, they misrepresent policies to make it look bad on the Democrats. Just like with this shutdown right now, the Republicans are constantly trying to push this narrative that it's the Democrats that are keeping the government shut down. But in reality, the Republicans, they have all of the power, right? They can end this shutdown fucking tomorrow if they wanted to by nuking the filibuster. And the fact that they don't shows me that they want the government shut down. And I think that they want it shut down because it does a number of things. It'll allow them to seriously gut a lot of things in the government, like we're seeing with the SNAP benefits right now. They're choosing to not find money to fund SNAP benefits, which is the welfare, the food stamps. They're not going to fund that, but they are going to pay ICE agents. And so like that's and bail out Argentina. And so it kind of seems to me like they're trying to paint it as the Democrats' fault, but at the same time, the Democrats are like, look, we want to keep these ACA subsidies so that people aren't priced out of their health insurance. And it's like people just don't understand what the Republicans' one big beautiful bill is actually going to do to their cost of living, to their health insurance premiums. Like, they just don't understand it, but the Republicans bank on that.
I kind of just want to speculate here. I know it's I don't feel like it's totally unfounded, but some of the people up higher, I feel like, are the type of, in the Republican Party, or I don't know how far it goes out, maybe the Democrats, but are Christians that believe that sickness is an accumulation of sin. And I don't know, between the policy and just the cognitive dissonance, I guess, is there any advice to reach people that are just do not care, do not understand?
Yeah, it's difficult when if somebody doesn't want to understand, that's really difficult. I think there are ways to kind of help bridge the gap as far as, like, your example of people who think that people become ill because of sin and all that. There's a similar issue, like, within the kind of the MAGA framework and the belief system of RFK Jr. About terrain theory, which is essentially what you were just saying, but just saying germs aren't real. It is the person that controls their internal physiologic environment, and then that, if you have a bad environment, that causes overgrowth of pathogens. So they're saying that the organisms don't actually cause disease. It's you that cause your own disease. And so that's definitely what is happening. There's definitely a lot of shifting the blame to the victim in these cases. How we bridge that is, I think a lot of it has to do with education. And this is something too, like, why it's critical that the administration get rid of education, and why they suppress that as much as possible, because having this knowledge, especially from a young age, learning about science, learning about how the world works makes you a lot less vulnerable to this kind of propaganda. And so this is kind of a tricky situation within the public health sphere of how do we provide this education? How do we communicate in a way that's effective? How do we kind of reduce the mistrust in the medical system? And it's a difficult question, and it's one that there isn't a great answer to as far as something super general. You kind of have to get a sense of what that other person's priorities are, like what their values are, and kind of work with that. I think if somebody is intentionally dishonest, or if they just do not want to engage, that's often a lost cause. But there are a lot of people who just don't know the right answer and don't know how to find it. And so I think kind of starting to appeal to humanity more and like kind of asking pointed questions, getting them to admit, like, do you believe that children, like, if children are forced to be in a place for a certain amount of hours a day, do you think that they should be punished for their parents not having money? Do you think that those children should go hungry because their parents are poor? Like kind of putting them on the spot for that, like, because if they do care, a lot of times they'll think back and say, oh, I didn't realize that my argument was me saying that children should go hungry. I think people don't often have the, like, they don't understand where the logic is leading, and that's again a failure of the educational system too, of not teaching people like how to go from A to B to C, and how these arguments, like what these arguments are communicating. But I think as much as we can kind of reach people where they're at, I think that's going to be a much more effective approach. But education is, like, education needs a huge overhaul in this country, and it's just only getting worse.
All right. A little bit more complex situations than I first thought, and I should have considered that in the first place.
Well, no, but it's good things to
question.
consider. And that's something too.
I'm sorry?
Like, I don't want, like, just something like for you to feel a little bit better about from your perspective, and maybe other people listening. Like, yeah, it's a very complex situation, and it's okay if you aren't out there converting the masses to like being a leftist, or not making people liberal and stuff. Like, it's okay. Like, it's okay if you're not changing every mind that you talk to. Like, it's a very difficult situation. We do need as many of us out there as possible helping to educate people and helping to have these conversations, but also don't be so hard on yourself if you have a conversation and it didn't go the way you expected, because there's a burden on that other person's end too. Like, they have the responsibility to be honest in the way they're thinking about things. They have to do their own homework. And so, yes, have those conversations, but don't blame yourself, and don't think that you have to throw out every argument you use just because somebody wasn't convinced by it. Like, somebody else might be convinced by the way you're thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, like you said, just appeal to the bare humanity for the first go. Yeah.
yeah, and if I was confronted by somebody that's like, oh, sickness is just mounting sin or something like that, I mean, I generally try to go a bit of a street epistemologist sort of route whenever somebody approaches me with that kind of ridiculous bullshit. Not directly telling them that that's ridiculous bullshit, but I try to get them to see how it's ridiculous bullshit on their own. So, like, the first thing that comes to mind that I would ask is, like, can you somehow demonstrate or quantify what sin is? Like, because it seems to me like sin is just offending God. And it's like, apparently, if you offend God enough, then you're going to get really sick. And then, after you kind of have that conversation with him, you can move to the point, like, and you could point out how, like, well, there's plenty of like MAGA people out there, or, highly religious people out there that regularly commit what a lot of people think is sin, and they're not sick. So does this really help as a good predictive model for who's sick and why they're sick? Whereas you could juxtapose it against, the germ theory, and and show like, well, we know germs exist, we know viruses exist, we know all of these things contribute negatively to somebody's health, and these are the reasons why they do negatively affect your health. This is why you run a fever, this is why you cough, and all this other stuff. And so like you can show to them, you can demonstrate to them how predictive like the current scientific explanation is versus how unpredictable and how really useless this whole sin model is. And so I typically try to go the route of trying to get them to see the bullshit themselves and get them to talk their way through it. And I find that a lot of people, if they get chased into a corner, they'll either say something even more ridiculous, or they'll end up realizing that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And either way that you go about it, like if somebody gets even more ridiculous or says some more kind of ridiculous, horrible bullshit, then that they can't be reached. But they're a good way to determine like whether or not they can be reached and they can be talked out of it would be, getting them to juxtapose it for themselves.
All right. I had another question, but I feel like it's a little bit of a long shot. I referenced those. I referenced those autistic lists earlier. RFK. I feel like I'm being a little bit too glib about that, but that was essentially what he was saying. And I was just like, is there any way to get the medical help that you need without getting on a list? I don't know, exposing all of your actual medical concerns or needs? I just don't know how to square the circle.
Like, do you mean, is there a way to get medical attention without the government being able to access it? Question.
It doesn't sound exactly possible, but yeah.
Well, your health information should be protected. Like the issue is whether or not like Trump will try to do whatever the fuck with HIPAA. But as the way the law is now, like your health information is protected. And we can't just give that out. So if you go to get medical help for something, like the exception would be is if you're in the military, they are allowed to like communicate certain things based on if you're qualified to serve, which is like, that's how the trans issue is becoming like so messy within the military, because you kind of give up a bit of your rights to HIPAA just by being in the military. But as a civilian, like you have rights to have your health information protected. And that's why like doctors' offices can't even access your information unless you sign something over. Like if you go to one doctor's office and then you go to a different doctor's office, that second office cannot just access your records. Like you have to sign a paper that says that new office is allowed to access your records from the other office. So like as it stands right now, your health information is protected. As far as certain issues that are politically contentious, with things like abortion, with things like gender affirming care for minors, especially, that stuff is likely it's something that the administration is more trying to use against people. So if those are specific concerns, definitely would recommend like not tracking your periods like on your phone, like not not getting an abortion like near a state that is going to out you for that kind of stuff. But anything like outside of those issues, I wouldn't be as worried. But unfortunately, like with the abortion issue and with trans people, it is a bit scarier. I'm guessing the trans conversation is more where you're talking about that.
No. Well, I do completely understand it. I was thinking about more of the abortion bounty hunters some states have right now, but
Yeah.
I think you covered it all pretty clearly. Yeah. Some lights at the end of some tunnels.
Abortion rights. Yeah, with abortion rights, that is something that is very difficult to navigate. There are some states though that are considered like safe haven states, and that's similarly with trans issues. But there are certain states where if you get an abortion in that state, and like let's say you came from Texas, like if you leave Texas to go get an abortion in Oregon or California or something, and Texas tried to subpoena that information from the state, a safe haven state would not relinquish that information. Like they would fight for you on that. So like if someone was able to travel for an abortion, it is helpful to look for a state that has those safe haven protections and would not give up your information if subpoenaed.
Yeah, pretty sick.
That helps.
There's a lot more guardrails than I was anticipating, and that's pretty tight.
Yeah, there are people still fighting. Like I know there's a lot of shit happening, and a lot of it's very scary. There are good people fighting the fight. There's still room to keep holding the line, and so definitely lean into some of those resources while we still have them.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'm all out of questions, right? Actually, I see there's Dr. Ben, and it's Godless Engineer. Is there an engineering doctorate degree there? I don't know how that works, but I was just wondering if it was two doctors here.
Oh, no. If I were a doctor, it would not be one that can help like Ben can. But no, I've just got a master's degree.
Whew. Sounds pretty good.
I mean, it's not helping me
I
right now, but you know.
Mm. But thank you for educating me on this, and I hope everybody stays safe out there. Help some other people out.
Yeah. Thank you for calling in, Jay. All right. I guess we'll just drop you there. Okay. Well, that's great. We didn't get another caller, and we are at the 2-hour mark. And I think if things are correct, I'm gonna have to go and change here in a second. You gotta go. Yeah, I gotta go wake up Brocephus. Which, just for anybody wondering, my dinner tonight was primarily vegetables, and my sugar went up. So I don't expect Andrew to know that there's sugar like in vegetables and everything like that, but it's whatever. Yep. So we got 5 pounds from Barbara Barrett, J8F, who says, "I'm really looking forward to seeing them in action." Thank you so much, there, Barbara. I hope we didn't disappoint.
Yeah, thank you so much. I can read the next one. $4.99 from Rusty Longshanks. Keep the headworm out of my healthcare. Yes, can we make a t-shirt like this? Keep the headworm out of my healthcare. Love it.
And then we got 20 Canadians from Peer Reform 42 that says millions of scientists have data supporting a theory. This dude on YouTube has an opinion. So it's one or the other, really. It's 50-50 as to what is correct. One is infinity monad.
Yeah, it's so true. This is definitely how the internet vets information. So it's back to the monad.
I wasn't paying attention. Are you guys keeping track of the score for your thing?
We really don't have to, because I've got one vote and Ben has all the other votes.
Okay. Cool.
There we go. Yeah, that's fine. I think John has already conceded. But 10 Canadian from Piriform 42 question: did Andrew do his homework? No, he did not. He did not.
Did somebody else give him homework? Because I know I told him to go and fucking research diabetes, but
I don't know if he had homework from a previous show, but maybe he did and didn't do it.
Yeah. So we got 10 is that pounds? I think that's pounds. 10 pounds from Barbara Barrett, who says hashtag Team Ben forever. That's that one vote for, or that is a vote for Ben. There's one vote for me. I know that much.
Or
there it is.
For Megan Marie. Oh, hashtag GE. Sorry, Ben, but I really want to see you try to defend RFK Jr. LOL. Huzzah! That's huzzah. There's your pity vote, GE.
Yeah, my pity vote. Oh, furlough things. Yeah. 50 Knox from Belgrath 6388. Every time someone refers to vaccines cause autism claim, my mind automatically jumps to the "if Google was a guy" video.
Amazing. 5 pounds from Barbara Barrett. Refer him to Dr. Knox channel for fuck's sake. Yeah, Dr. Knox does some really good content. There are a few content creators out there, especially people like shorts, that do some good stuff. Dr. Knox is one of them. Dr. Rubin is a pediatric allergist that does some really good stuff. There's several OBGYNs that do good content. But yeah, there's some good people debunking this stuff online for sure.
And then we've got 10 Australian Down Unders from Darren McAuliffe. You can only eat cake once a year. Sounds like Andrew throws very shitty birthday parties. All of the cake is for me. You aren't allowed to have any. I remember the first time that both me and my wife were like, we don't need a special occasion to go get cake. we can just go get cake. And it's like, oh, what is it for? We're fat.
I thought it was the beer.
I think, it was no, it's the beer, it's the bread, it's the whatever in the hell else. Oh, do you not walk for 5 hours a day? It's the vegetables.
$5 from Alijan of Silverbow. Someone in a wheelchair better get out of that chair and exercise if they want to eat a slice of cake. Andrew, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I felt like of him to be like, oh yeah, you should just, everybody should just eat how I want people to eat and exercise. Oh, and exercise like I want them to exercise, not even thinking about the diversity of different situations.
Yeah.
So we got $5 from. Oh, is it my turn or your? Okay,
it's your turn.
$5 from Idiconoclast, who says Andrew believes everyone should adhere to the government mandated PT. A scary vision of a possible future under authoritarianism. I can just imagine it now. Like you get this like speaker put in your house, and it's like time to wake up and do PT. And it's like everybody's monitoring you for how many jumping jacks you do.
Yeah, and something funny about this too is the fact that like there's a recent issue with their big recruiting pull for ICE, and most of the people that are trying to like become ICE agents like can't pass that fitness test. So it's like, you have these standards, yet your own people, the only people that are going to work for you, can't adhere to those standards. So because you're firing all the people that were qualified to do certain jobs. Oh no, now you have a military like recruitment crisis that's worse than it has been. Well, definitely kicking out the trans people was a great idea then. Like,
I want the voice John's talking about to also be RFK Jr.'s voice. So the voice that's screaming at you to do more jumping jacks also sounds like it's
yeah.
rocks
Oh,
grating against each other the whole time.
Did y'all see the video of Hegseth and RFK Jr. like doing pull-ups like with the military or something? They're doing like the CrossFit thing. And Hegseth isn't even doing pull-ups, he's doing chin-ups and like kipping like really hard. And then I saw a stitch where some mom was doing perfect form pull-ups with a baby like attached to her, and it's like, yeah, you big tough alpha males, like you're gonna pull all these generals into a room, tell them that they're being shit at their job, and then you can't even outperform a mom in pull-up form. So like, how about you fix your form, Hegseth? How about you stop being a little shit?
Yeah. I thought that was totally ridiculous too. Also, as far as my job goes, I was like, "Holy shit! Am I gonna have to start doing like PT as part of my day?" Like, it obviously didn't apply to me, but I'm just like, how fucking crazy would that be? It's like, oh, you write our software, but also you're gonna need to run 10 miles in the morning every morning. I'm sorry, this is how or ignorant I am of any of the PT stuff, like actually in the military. I don't even know what to expect.
Well, and it's a funny thing too, because like your healthcare team and like your officers don't do PT at the same time as everybody else. Like you do your own PT on your own time, and like the medical people don't do PT at the same time because sick call happens at the same time. So like if people can't do the PT for whatever reason, like if they're sick, they go to the clinic and people have to run the clinic. So it's like, are you gonna, like, where are you finding this time in the day to make everyone do PT? Like, are you taking people out of their jobs? Like, are you gonna make the hospital doctors stop like doing their pre-rounding and their rounding to go do all this stuff? Like, no, like somebody needs to be there in the hospital, like with the sick people. Come on.
and I mean, like for me, I can't just go and run, right? Like if it, like when I start running, like I have to constantly monitor my blood sugar level because it'll start dropping, and I have to stop in time for it to not like go hypoglycemic. And so that's, it's like it's not like I can run a set amount. Like I generally have to time it out, like with like lunch or breakfast or something like that, so that I have enough sugar to get me through it. I think this is you though.
This is me. Okay. 10 Canadian from Piriform 42. I get the hashtag ban Drew. He's gross, but the points the hosts were making based on his questions were brilliant. He's still gross though. Hashtag Dr. Penn. Yeah, I did like the fact that he made certain arguments so that I had the opportunity to like debunk them, and so you all can take that information and use them in other arguments. So it's one advantage of having people like Andrew around is so we can demonstrate a little bit of that conversation.
Yeah, but did you eat bread?
I did eat bread today. I'm gonna have a beer
Fuck.
after this, just to spite Andrew. I'm gonna have a beer after this.
Let's see, $5 from Joshua Everett 9887. Always down for Brosifa's brainworm defenses. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. I get it. People want to see Brosifa's up here defending RFK Jr. brain rot. I gotcha.
15 mirror units from Fishy 25252 recently did a research on thinking. There are even people who don't like to admit some answers need to be changed, and some hate complex answers. Yeah, there's like, it's definitely easy, like, and it's natural to want easy answers. But that gets us nowhere, and pretending that the answers are easy does not therefore make the answer easy.
Yeah,
If that
and
was
I
the
think
case,
that probably has. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if that was the case, I would not have gone to school for 10 years and still need to do 5 to 6 years more of training. Like, it would have been way easier.
Yeah, I think that this, is probably rooted in just how people resolve cognitive dissonance. There's the popular ways to do it, and so like just having an easy reason to disregard some new piece of information. Either you don't understand it, or like it's complex, and so you don't want to try to understand it, or you just don't want it to change, and so you disregard it for whatever reason. I think that would be the explanation for that. And I mean, we've got a lot of experience with dealing with that in the religious community.
Yep.
I think, is this me?
This is yours. Yeah.
Okay. 5 Canadian from Miss Crocodile, who says, Dr. Ben away from TACIS? Be still my heart.
In all fairness, I was on TACIS as well. We're pulling double duty this week. So
yeah. And I've got
it sounds like the audience wants me on more shows. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Which I'll take that. I'll take that feedback.
Oh, definitely. I know. I think that you bring a lot to every show. So I think this is your Canadian.
Oh, this is me. 5 Canadian from Mrs. Crocodile. Also, I just started You Weren't Meant to Be Human, and it's so fucking good, and everyone who likes horror and dystopia must read. Topical-ish. All right. I mean, there's a book recommendation if people want that.
$4.99 from Overly Polite Rebel, who says Bobby Brainworms does not deserve a monogram moniker. I refuse to feed his faux clout. Okay.
I do like Bobby Brainworms. $5 from Aliashana Silverbow. Why did Dr. Ben need so many years of study just to learn about balancing the humors? Surely it can't be that complicated. There's only 4 of them. Yeah. Yeah, why do we put all this work into studying medicine when you can just have a worm in your brain and know everything? Like, where's my brain worm? Why didn't I get a brain worm then?
All right, so since Ben got most of them, I'm going to go and get Brocephus real quick. So I'll just be 1 second, and I'll have Brocephus back over here. Hey, Brocephus!
You got to go wake him up from his nap. Brocephus is napping hard. Oh, this is gonna be fun. So I'll just vamp while he's away. Okay. So things to vamp about. I still have Zorlaga. It's folded now. I still have Zorlaga here, and I'm still very angry that she didn't win. Oh, you're back. Well, I guess Brocephus is back.
This is the first time I've been here. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I heard that I'm supposed to defend that brainwormy guy. Okay, listen, y'all are not giving him as much credit as you think. Okay, listen, the brainworm works to his advantage. All right, you know how doctors say you only use like 10% of your brain or whatnot. Well, that brainworm has fed on the parts that he just doesn't use, and so I mean that's why you get like in some of those what the Senate meetings, they're like little community meetings, but of government people. Senate hearings, when he's in there and he can't remember shit, it's just because there's so much information that he has to pack in his Swiss cheese brain that, it gets pushed out. And so like, he doesn't remember saying shit like, vaccines are the cause for autism and all this other shit. And that's why he gets caught in so many bad situations where that people have like transcripts and stuff. But, we can't really blame him too much, but because like I said, 10% of the brain is used or some shit or another. And so that's why the brainworm fed on those dead parts of his brain, but that maximizes his brain power altogether because now he doesn't have all that dead weight of the rest of his brain, mucking it up. And I mean, look, that's really where the genius of RFK Jr. lies, okay? Because his Swiss brain has allowed him to hone in on all these different sources of information that gave us the whole Tylenol realization. Listen, if your mom took Tylenol when she was pregnant with you, obviously there's some magical cloudy shit that's going on there, and boom, that's why you're autistic, okay? That's why you have to focus on one particular kind of food for the foreseeable future. That's the only fucking thing you eat. Like with GE and fucking chicken strips. He eats those things all the time. I keep telling him not to eat them, but he's like, well, they're the Just Bare ones, so it's better. And I'm like, yeah, but you're still eating the same thing every fucking day, and that's because of the Tylenol. See, without RFK Jr.'s Swiss cheese brain, we would not have had this particular realization. And listen, I know that you really want to hate on him because of his voice and all this other stuff, but listen, that's the brain worm working. That's the magic. That's where it's contained. Like the brain worm ate all the useless shit up here, and that caused his voice to like this or some kind of shit. I don't know. But that's where the power lies, is in his voice. He's using it to bring realization to everybody that we need to make America healthy again. And listen, you do that by not eating bread. We need to get rid of all the gluten. Get rid of all the bread. Don't eat a sandwich. And if I could just echo something that the great Maha wizard himself would say, it's that we should all be on a carnivore diet. Just 100% of the time, eat steak, red meat, shove it up your ass, take a suppository. Just I don't know why you're laughing there, Dr. Ben. I know that you've been taught this in school and you're just trying to hide it because you're a part of Big Pharma.
I told people if they did $20 in super chats, I'd let them see another hat.
Shit. There we go. Okay, y'all happy now? Y'all happy with this hat? Okay, now listen. The Maha Wizard himself's not going to rock out with his cock out, but that's because cocks cause cancer. All right? I don't mean to get this place flagged for anything, but I'm just telling you right now, and that's why GE's probably got cancer brewing down in his grundle area. That's because he's been eating all that chicken and shit. He was eating fucking Brussels sprouts the other day, and that's the best nutritional thing he's had all week. He's never touched an avocado. And you can tell because he's a fat ass. So, anyways, that's my defense of RFK Jr. And I'm eager to hear why he might be wrong, but I don't think Dr. Ben can actually prove that he's wrong about any of the shit that I've said.
I just laughed so hard at the carnivore diet part because I just recently a few weeks ago did a show on the carnivore diet, and I actually like attempted the carnivore diet for like a day, and it was miserable. I was gonna do it for a week, but I could not. I could not do it.
Wait, you're a miserable look. Steak for breakfast, steak for lunch, steak for dinner. Look, I don't know how you get a better day than that.
Yeah, you just keep telling yourself that. Impacted colon diet. Yep. Yeah, there's zero fiber. Have fun pooping.
I'm serious about this.
Yeah, I could tell.
All right, I guess I'm going to go back. I'm not going to have a beer, though, because I learned from Andrew that that's what causes fat ass syndrome. So I'm going to go and have, I don't know, whatever's not beer. I don't know what we got other than beer, but I'm chicken. That's that cock shit, and I'm not going to have no cancer. Anyways, bye, y'all. I'll be back later sometime. I don't know.
Yeah, there goes Persephus. So pleasant time having him on. I feel like voting for me was a punishment for everyone because I had to sit here with Persephus. I had to listen to that. So thanks everybody in the side chat for that. Oh,
Whew.
you missed Persephus. He was
Oh,
here.
did I? Well,
He was
did
talking
he?
shit about you. Yeah.
What? What did he
He told you to
say?
stop eating chicken. He said you should
Why?
stop eating chicken and you should only eat avocados because it's gonna give you cancer. That's what he said.
Wait, the avocados are going to give me
Yeah.
cancer?
No, the chicken's gonna give you cancer.
Oh, the chicken gives cancer. I
Yeah.
wonder how he gets
Yeah.
there. Well, I mean, I'll just take his blankie away from him, and then he won't say that kind of shit again.
Yeah.
I can't, but he's got to suffer consequences for saying shit like that. All right. Well, I do want to let everybody know that tomorrow there's the all-day stream with Forrest and Erica, so y'all can wear them out. Then I'm interested to see what later in the day is going to bring, and I'm also interested to see how they're going to fill time. I mean, I don't know if they're. I mean, usually they don't have a problem getting calls, so like I feel like they'll have their fair share. But I wonder, maybe we should do like some kind of like bet. Like a betting system or something like that for what the longest call is going to be, because like I know that they can go for a long time on a call.
The monad. No, make it
We gotta get that on
a
Kalshi.
chat poll.
Oh yeah, we can do that on Kalshi. I've been seeing that Kalshi go around. But anyways, I guess that's going to be it for our show tonight. I hope y'all enjoyed Brocephus, and I hope that doesn't get the channel taken down or something, because he can be insufferable. But anyways, I guess we'll see everybody tomorrow. And yeah, thank you to all the call. Arden was doing the call screening. Sorry. Thanks to Arden for doing all the producing. Thanks to all the chat moderators and everything like that. Y'all are awesome. Thank you, Dr. Ben, for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being on here with me, doing an extra show. It's been super fun.